Today we want to compare two lists. To be more precise, we want to find elements that are on both lists and the elements that are only on one list. And we are going to use classic Excel, legacy Excel, and classic formula, but we will use aggregate function, so this formula will work from Excel 2010, and it's important we'll not have to use Ctrl+Shift+Enter thanks to aggregate function. So let's start with finding elements. If elements from list B, so my son's favorite series movies, are on list A, and to find those functions we can use match function. So we are looking up values from list B, elements from list B, F4 to lock it, on list A, F4 to lock it, and we need exact match, so 0 as the third argument of this function. And just like that, Excel give us result. I have dynamic array Excel, so Excel spills the result. So we can see that how to train your dragon is element that is on both lists, and number here tells us the position on the first list. It's important because we were looking elements from list B on list A. So those numbers show us the position on list A, and we want to extract those numbers, and we can use aggregate function for this, and we want to extract them from smallest to largest. So we have to use function number 15, small, because this function understands array formula, and thanks to that we won't have to use Ctrl+Shift+Enter when we put our formula in a cell. And then in the second argument of aggregate function we will put 6 to ignore errors, and we see that our match function result sometimes are an A error, and thanks to this 6 we will ignore them. So we have our array, and now we just need to add k argument, and we can just count rows from start to end, so from A2 to A2, but we have to remember to F4 lock one of these A. So when we are going to copy our formula down, our range will be expanding, because one A2 will stay in the place but the other will go down, and just like that we can find fifth element, and we can drag our formula a bit down and we find fifth and seventh argument, and we have errors when we go past elements that are on both lists. So because we have position of this element, we can just add here index function, and we have to look at the first list, F4 to lock it, and comma row number from aggregate function, and just like that Ctrl+Enter, and we can copy our formula down, and we have found elements that are on both lists. So we can just add if error function to not show errors. So copy our formula down, and we have backup if there will be more elements in the future, but the core of our formula is here. Now we can create formula that will find only elements that are on list B, so only my son's favorite stories, movies. So let's start with giving each element a number. We can use row function for this. So we are selecting the whole list, F4 to lock it, and just like that, because I have a dynamic array Excel will spill the results. So each element has his own number, but we want to start from 1, not 2. So we have to subtract header row, so minus row of C1, F4 to lock it. And just like that, we have a sequence from 1 to 8. So we have 8 elements on the second list. And we want only numbers when the elements aren't on our list. How can we do it? We can divide our list, so we have to add parentheses and then divide by match function. It's the first step. So we are looking those elements, F4 to lock it, on our first list, F4 to lock it, and we want exact match, so 0 to starts from the top. And just like that, we will have numbers only on those positions that are on both lists, but we want the reverse situation, so we want numbers on an A position. How can we do it? We have to put our match function into ISNA function, and if match function will return error, ISNA function will change this error into true, and number divided by value of true will change this true value into 1. So number divided by 1 will give this number. And if ISNA function will return false, mathematical operation divide will change false into 0, and we cannot divide by 0, so we'll have divide by 0 errors. And now we have a list with numbers, position of our elements we want to extract, and we have errors. It doesn't really matter what kind of errors are those. So we can now put our whole formula into aggregate function, and just like before, we are starting from the smallest value, so small function 15 here. Then we want ignore errors once again, so 6, and this is our whole formula. And at the end we need k, so rows function, and this time from G2 to G2, close parentheses, and one of these G2 F4 to lock it. And just like that, we have position without errors. So we can now add index function, and we are taking position from list B. So we have to select list B, F4 to lock it, our aggregate function to get row number, one more parenthesis, and just like that, without Control Shift Enter, just Control Enter or Enter to put this formula, and we have our results. And we can add IFERROR function to put empty text string, so basically nothing, in situation where the formula will return errors. So Control Enter and copy our formula down. And just like that, we have two formulas. One to extract elements that are on both lists, and one that extract elements that are only on one list.